Everybody ready?
You got it.
Is we locked? Okay.
I'm really locked.
Let me open up my opening remarks. All right. There we go. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Play Action Podcast. I'm Mallory Sickles. I'm Annie West.
I'm Avery Wimberly. And I'm Chase Byrd.
And I'm Nina Thompson.
Awesome. And today we're super excited to be welcoming our esteemed guest, Riley Morgan, as well as talk about how to enter and navigate the industry of sports news journalism, including some ethical considerations later on, and also some technological advancements and possibilities in this industry. Thank you so much, Riley, for joining us today. Riley Morgan is a very accomplished student here at our university who writes for the Tiger, is part of Tiger Vision, and also even has their own media account. So we're super excited to have you here today, Riley.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about this. It's my favorite part of being here. So anytime I get to talk about it is perfect.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Well, we can just get right rolling and have Annie come in with our first question.
Okay, perfect. So Riley, I just kind of wanted to start out by asking if you mind sharing kind of what initially sparked your interest in journalism and then kind of how you knew you wanted to get involved with that at Clemson.
Yeah, I've loved sports like for years and years, and I knew that was what I really wanted to go into because that was the thing I was most passionate about. And before I got to Clemson, one of my friends who's a year older than me, she's a junior here. My mom taught her. And so like we got close based off that, and she told me about the Tiger and like basically was like, I'm gonna see you there, right? Like whenever you go to Clemson, I'm gonna see you at the Tiger, right? So I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And I knew that they had a sports desk, so I was like, perfect. I would love to do that. And it's just like it's just a like great opportunity for me to like be able to get into games and like get in the press box, get on the field, like get experience and like, you know, just really like boost myself and like put myself out there. And yeah.
So did you have any type of experience like this before you got to Clemson? Like anything like high school sports or anything like that?
I didn't have any journalism experience. I did play softball since I was 6 years old. So I played softball all the way up until my junior year of high school. So that was about the only like sports, I guess, like experience that I had. But no photography, no journalism, just like me watching sports on TV, going to games like as a fan.
Okay, gotcha. So were you kind of like expecting like the journalism in Clemson to be like as intense as it is, or were you just kind of open-minded when you got here and just kind of let it play out?
I was very open-minded, actually. Like, whenever I first got there last year, I really didn't do anything because I was too, like, nervous to, like, put myself out there. Because, like, the whole desk is, like, filled with, like, upperclassmen and, like, people with these huge internships and, like, super experience. So I was like, I don't know how to, like, really put myself out there, like, already. Like, I was just super shy and everything. So, yeah, I guess I just went in super open-minded and just, like, not really expecting anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. And so is there any other areas that you want to cover, or is sports kind of your main focus from here on out?
I would say sports are definitely my main focus. Well, like, give me an example on something else, like just
Like journalism and like we're talking about like politics or something like that.
oh, okay. No, I wouldn't say so, because with the Tiger, there's 4 different desks. There's opinion, timeout, news, and then sports. And I haven't like found myself really like drawn to those other desks or like really wanting to like write for them. But if like something comes up, like I did write an opinion piece last year, but it was like sports. It was like the title was is Clemson like an everything school, like considering like how good all of our sports are. So like some schools are football schools, basketball schools, like my opinion piece, and it went in the opinion section was so should Clemson be an everything school? But I wouldn't say I would say I'm really just like sticking in sports.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Hey, Riley, question for you. So there's no secret that Clemson is a big school. big athletics department. A lot of people are very invested, really tuned in, and just want to be in the know of what's happening here at Clemson. So, how do you handle the pressure of producing stories that you know a lot of people are interested in? And bouncing off of that, do you ever find viewers that are really critical of your work?
So I would say actually no, I haven't really gotten any like outside criticism. I do know that like the Tiger, like the website, people see a lot of like my work and other people's work, but I wouldn't say like no one's personally reached out to me and then like, oh, that's wrong, or like, oh, you can't say that, or anything like that. What was the first question?
Do you ever feel like pressure in producing these stories since you know there's a lot of eyes going to be on it?
Actually, no. I feel like I should though. No, I don't feel pressure really at all. I do take a lot of time to write my articles because I do want everything to be right and to be correct. So I do like, it probably takes me for like a recap article, like say I'm recapping a baseball game. It would probably take me like an hour, hour and a half just so I make sure everything's right. Um, it's not because like I feel pressured, like so many people are gonna read this, like I need everyone to like see this and be like it's right. But it's more just like for me and for like my desk and just like making my desk look good basically and myself for everyone.
Cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with not feeling any pressure. That's got to make the job easier, doesn't
I
it?
feel like it does. It definitely does.
Good. Um, so good thing you don't experience any criticism, at least personally, but do you have like a thought process or a plan that if you were to, how you would either use it in a sort of way or you know, just how you would deal with that?
So if I got criticism,
Yeah.
I'm a very non-confrontational person. So like if someone were to criticize me, I'd probably like fact check them, make sure that they're like correct on what they're saying and be like, oh, absolutely, I will fix that or I'll change that or I'll make sure that I don't make that mistake again. That's probably what I would do, like totally.
Nice. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hey Riley, just want to say thank you again for coming on and talking. I guess another thing kind of like I wanted to ask about is like, can you kind of like, you know, you said like you don't feel pressure, but like, can you like walk us through, I guess, the process of how you prepare for a story? Like, I guess it's like what all goes into it, you know, just like planning days in advance and day of the event, or like, is there any things that just like change last minute? Like, can you just take us through that?
Yeah, so I'll do like a baseball game because I did a lot of baseball last season. So like my preparation, I would say like no, like of course I follow the team. So I know how they've been doing like up until this game. And I'll check who are playing that day. I'll check like what they've been doing, who their players are, how they've been doing. And so that would be like my mind coming into the game. And then like during the game, I'm sitting in the press box and like I'll have the live stats like website up. So I'll be watching that. I'll be watching the game. I'll be like taking notes like on like big plays that happen. So like just like bullet points. And then during like a big break or something, I'll start like writing out in like full sentences or like a full story like format. What I'll be doing. So I'll be like working on the article as the game progresses, and then I'll probably after the game go to the post game press conference with like the coaches and the players, and then I'll take stuff from what they say in the press conference and add that as my article and like tie it all that together with like how they did, if they won, if they lost. If a player had a big game and they spoke in the press conference, I'll put that into the article, and then yeah, I'll probably take like another 30-45 minutes after all that just to like really finalize it, make sure everything's good, everything's right. Yep.
Got you. And another thing I was gonna say, like, I guess going back to like you said, you write based on like wins, losses, this and that. Like, if you have like a set something you're gonna write about, like a certain player or like something that happens, but like say like a player like you're supposed to write about them, but they don't play that game, and it's like a last minute call. Like, how do you adjust to that? I guess like something that you're like set in stone and you know what you're gonna talk about, but like how do you adjust and like you know I guess go in a different direction and something doesn't work out like that? Can you explain us?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple actually. Like my desk group's super lenient. Like, we'll have meetings every Tuesday and like we'll will brainstorm like what we're gonna do for the week, what we're gonna write, what games we're gonna go to, and it's what and like my head, the sports director and for the Tiger, he'll just be like, if the story falls through, just text me, let me know. It's all good. So like if I needed to write out a player and they were sick, they were injured, they didn't play, like I would just text him and be like, hey, like this guy didn't play. Do you want me to do anything else? And just go from there.
When that happens, do y'all, I guess, like focus on another story, like talking, I guess, with other people and like create something else? Or do you kind of just, I guess, like, oh, we're just going to move on from that and try again another time?
Yeah, so like going back, like I'll use baseball again. Like if I were like pinpointing one player, like I'll use Cam Canarella from last season. If I were like focusing on Cam for this game and he doesn't play good, but I noticed that like Jaron Purified had a good game, I'll probably shift my focus over to him, look at his stats, remember what he did during the game, and then just shift and write my story based on that.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Riley.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for being here. So my question is, how has the Tiger kind of enhanced your education of sports journalism, and what is your biggest takeaway so far?
Yeah, doing the Tiger has really like it's really helped my vocabulary and like how I write and how I read, really, because I read so many of like the other people in my desk, like their articles. I read so many of theirs, just like make mine better and like see what I can like improve and like how I can say this and how I can do this. And so it's definitely improved like how I write, which is like the big takeaway with journalism. And it's also really like shifted like my view on like sports and how I watch sports and how I analyze it and everything. And then what was the second question?
Um, Kind of just like, what do you think is the biggest takeaway so far that you've learned that like you'll use in the future?
Yeah. Probably just like how I act and like put myself in like this isn't making sense. How I like put myself in sports and like how I carry myself, because you have to carry yourself a certain way whenever you go to these things, and like knowing so early, like as a sophomore, knowing so early how I need to like act and like be and what I need to wear and how I need to talk and say things, like I feel like that's really going to help how I like what I know I need to do in my future.
Okay, so unfortunately, our Zoom did cut out. Library Wi-Fi has not been our friend. We were not able to get Riley back, but she did kindly respond to my question in writing. So what I was going to ask was, has she ever had a really quick turnaround time and had to navigate it? And if so, how did she do that? And she talked about a baseball game that she actually covered last spring. And she said that it was against South Carolina, and she was really scrambling the whole game to get everything together. But not only that, she had to then walk 20 minutes home to her apartment and stop downtown and finish the story while she was sitting on a bench in downtown. I'm really upset she couldn't be here to tell it herself because it was a really awesome story. But that just goes to show like her determination, and she's too humble to talk about how amazing that is, but it truly is admirable that she's willing to go to such lengths to get that good content out there. And I highly recommend everyone listening to go read her stories on the Tiger. They're really awesome. Go check out her media page. It's really great. So yeah, we were super grateful to have her on the pod today. She gave some really valuable insights, and that was amazing. So yeah, with that, we can go ahead and head into our round table since we were able to recover the rest of the group this evening. But yeah, Annie, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I kind of just wanted to kick us off by talking about how you have to kind of navigate and be very strategic in this industry. I think a lot of journalism now is you have to be, thinking about your next move so early in advance, whether that's what time you're going to post, how fast you're posting, what information you're pushing harder than others. So I kind of just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on that and kind of like the strategic methodology that journalism is right now.
Yeah, the biggest thing for the strategy of journalism, what I see is the big dilemma over quality versus quantity, right? So just how fast and how many stories can you produce at one time? Or are you wanting to, spread the time out, really take a lot of time to put a lot of effort into a story that may be a couple days late or a couple days after the sporting event or whatever itself. But just what this world we're living in now really wants the fast stories. It wants, as soon as possible. But there's also still that group of people that want a good quality, article written about what they just experienced. So I think just with time in the industry and the more you do journalism, you kind of figure out how to merge both sides and how to produce fast with good quality, how to produce multiple articles, maybe even in one night, still all being up to a good standard and a good quality of articles. So, um, that's just the biggest thing, in my opinion, of navigating a certain strategy is just how fast can you do it and how well can you do it. And that just really comes with years of experience.
Kind of going off of that, I think that social media, particularly like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, things like that, can kind of um serve as kind of like leeway for a bigger story. And also like you can kind of preview your content and share what you are going to talk about more later in a longer and more formal story that can be on your website and kind of get the audience excited and interested in what you have to say and about what topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it kind of relates to what Riley was saying about she did have quick turnaround times, but she always like double triple checked. And I know she mentioned to me off the pod like she always has one of her like senior writers just review something before because she wants to make sure that it's valid, and there is that balance between being strategic and trying to get out first, but also like making sure that we're submitting proper information and proper accounts of these events. So
I think that it also can just be kind of difficult to make sure that you're covering everything that you want to and include in a post just because of like word count and also like attention span. So I think that that's something that's definitely important to think about when you are making these posts on social media.
Do y'all think that because like there's so many things that are going into every post or every article written that it's kind of like pushing away people from wanting to pursue journalism, or do you think it's like encouraging them to get involved?
I think because journalism right now is so multifaceted that more people are getting interested in it just because it encompasses so many more aspects than just hard writing and print writing. Um, but also I feel like people are kind of intimidated to get into the industry just because of like prior perceptions.
Yeah, I would kind of go on that. Like, I feel like, like in today's world, there is a lot of intimidation, because I feel like a lot of people are worried about what everybody else is going to say. And I guess like with many platforms, there's a lot of like criticism and you're going to get a lot of feedback. So I do feel like if you are going to want to get into like this area, I feel like you do have to be, have tough skin and be ready to like take on that criticism. So.
Yeah, that's a really good way to transition into what I was kind of going to focus on, which is developing an audience, keeping viewers, keeping them interested, keeping them loyal, but also how to handle criticism. And so just developing an audience and keeping them is very similar to this podcast in and of itself, right? First, I would, say know your audience is the one of the most important parts, right? You want to know your audience, know what they're looking for, and really know what keeps them coming back. Because you don't want to do the same thing over and over and your audience, not return, right? You want to see what they like, what keeps them clicking, and, you know, keep them coming back because it is what they want to see, right? But that also looks like not doing the same thing over and over again, right? So maybe have stories in your articles, have humor in your articles, have interviews in your articles of different people, right? Something new and not something that's kind of either going through the motions or going along with like a specific script or schedule. S- want something new each and every time. And then lastly, I would say just be authentic, right? Be yourself. That's the most important part. People are going to click to see you try to be somebody you're not, right? So if, I wanted to try and be like uh upbeat rambling guy, Stephen A. Smith, for instance, some guy is going to slam my table and throw my hands up in the air and stare directly at the person talking next to me and just, yeah, right. That may not be who I am, or I may not be just right right or talk monotone kind of person like I'm behind a radio desk, right? So just be who you are. People are going to come to look at their personality. What are some things that you guys think would help develop an audience and keep viewers coming back?
I think just going right along the lines of what you said, like being yourself, I feel like, and also kind of with criticism, like people are watching not just your every move, but other people's. So if you're copying someone else and you're trying to act like a certain reporter or, write like somebody else, like other people are going to notice and they're going to call you out for it. And then you're not going to be able to create like your own brand image or your own following. So I think, yeah, just being authentic and just doing it because it's who you are.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Like, I like it when people like stick to their certain image, but also like bring in those creative elements that Avery was talking about. Because like I know, for instance, watching someone that has like a really hot take, even if you know deep down that they probably don't agree with it, is like something I crave. Sometimes it's like, for example, now like no offense to anybody out there in the chat, but obviously football has been like it had a season. But like I like to see those people out there. They're like, oh, like but guys, this could be the year. Like, what if it's a repeat of last time? And it's like that keeps me going, Like, is that a hot take? Probably, yeah. Is that something that I expect to hear from a commentator right now? Like, not really. But I think things like that is just it kind of gives hope, but it also just gives a different perspective because we can see the same thing over and over again. But it's the people that like go outside that box. I feel like that can get a loyal audience because people always know they're gonna like get something different.
I think that another aspect to look at is just kind of like your analytics of your social media and also just like feedback on wherever you're posting and kind of see where the engagement is and what people are liking, what they're not liking, throwing up some polls, and just asking the audience what it wants to see. And also, with that being said, in those analytics, just looking at what type of demographic specifically you're attracting. And I think that that is a really good place where you can kind of like know how to go forward and change your content and tailor it to them.
And unfortunately, you're going to attract some critics as well, right? You can't really deny or hide from that fact. So, how would you say you would go about handling criticism as a journalist?
I think taking it constructively is definitely important. And then um kind of seeing like areas that obviously are like personal attacks, like hide those comments, have maybe someone sift through your media and your socials. And so it doesn't really take you down and bring down like your encouragement to keep pushing content out. But I think ultimately looking at criticism as a good thing is really important to your development as a creator.
Yeah, I would kind of touch on that too. I feel like, like you said, be constructive with it, learn what's good and what you can, expand on, and learn what's bad, and probably try and, go around that. So I just feel like, yeah, use it as a way to be constructive and just build from it. That's the best way.
Yeah, I think it's I'm gonna touch on this maybe later when I'm talking about like getting into the industry, but um like definitely taking feedback is just super important. So some criticism can really be helpful because if we're not listening to those that have been around and been playing the game, then how are we gonna know how we measure up really, you know? And I think taking that wisdom from people with experience is something to be valued, but you know, to an extent, because as young people trying to enter this kind of career, you really do want to keep your confidence. Because I feel like, you know, a lot of this could also be fake it till you make it. So
Mm. You just need to respond selectively, but also professionally. You're not obliged to respond to any criticism, but if you were to, I'd say respond, choose your responses, make sure you do professionally. So fact check, right? Stay calm and be respectful to the person because they may have a different opinion or see it from a different way than you would. So just make sure you're always, doing the part on your end and not just responding based off emotion, but, you know, doing your facts, doing your research, and just respond in a professional way is how, I would suggest responding to criticism.
Yeah, that kind of takes me into what I want to talk about, I guess, going far as ethics and journalism. you know, there's, times where people they want to announce info quickly, but, you got to also make sure it's accurate. I feel like, so for me, I guess talking about like ethics and journalism, I feel like, being like trustworthy, like you make sure you get the truth out and make sure it's accurate. I feel like that is a very important ethic in journalism. Just, because you don't want to just, put out stuff just because, you need to get it out there. Kind of like what Riley was saying. I know we touched on it, kind of how she was, rushed and had to condense everything because, they were telling her she needs to like get it out, but she didn't just, throw out something that, wasn't trustworthy or creditable. So she made sure that she condensed it the right way and actually got the full truth. So I feel like that's very important. You don't just want to throw stuff out there. And so I guess like for y'all, I wanted to ask, what do y'all think is an important ethic in journalism?
yeah, I feel like just remembering the principle that like just as much as you're a person, the people you write about in sports are all people too. And like this is a people's career. So knowing that, you know, these people in the spotlight really do get so much criticism that, you know, on the one hand, it might not affect them. On the other hand, journalists can almost hold the power to really decimate people. And that's something to definitely consider as, you know, young journalists learn ethics and just what's appropriate and what's not, but also knowing that we do have a responsibility to communicate what we know to those other people as well.
Yeah, that just makes me think of honesty as my ethic. And, there are a lot of journalists may be privy to a lot of personal information and specifics to maybe an athlete or an organization. And so just being honest about where you're getting your information from. You see a lot of anonymous sources or from an anonymous outlet, anything like that. If it's something very serious and important, like something that could be career altering for an athlete or detrimental to an organization, make sure that you're being honest about where you get your information from and who it is that is reporting on it. So that is you. Because, I think me personally, I wouldn't want somebody to report on something maybe career altering about me. So why should I want to do it to them? So just being honest about where you get your information from and who it is that's reporting it.
Yeah, Avery, going off your point, like you want to be getting your information and reporting accurately. Like you're a source for other people who are reading what you're writing. So you want to be a credible one. I also think, like, from Riley's perspective, like, she's reporting on, like, not just athletes, like, they're still, like, college students. And so I think just making sure, like, your information is accurate and you're, like, remembering, like, your name is attached to this and you want to be posting or writing things that you're proud of. And then I just personally think just nothing that can bring them down or their reputation down, especially if like they're looking to go into like the professional world. Like you wouldn't want to do anything to hinder their career just because you want people to read your writings.
Yeah. I like have an inquiry for the group. If you guys had like a breaking story that like if you release this, it's true, but like if you release this, like someone's career would go down the drain, like would y'all release it?
I kind of was gonna get into that. Like for me, what I was gonna say is like at the end of the day, like you got to understand that everybody's human. Like, I feel like in today's world, a lot of these journals they look at like athletes and kind of everything is like objects. Like they don't, these people have emotions too. They have families, thoughts, and what you put out there can affect how they think and people around them. So I feel like you gotta realize that at the end of the day, they're humans too. And so what you say, it does matter and it does get to these people, even if you don't think it does. So you
Yeah.
gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I feel like it definitely can be hard for journalists to remember that when they're just caught up with like the external like benefits that they might see, and they kind of just throw their morals and values out of the window, and like you said, look at athletes like objects. Another area kind of transitioning into my point about like the future of journalism is, how do y'all think AI is going to affect journalism, like whether that's false information, new like creative platforms, and just the development of other social medias. And also, sorry.
As right, there's pros and cons, of course, but in terms of sports journalism itself, I think that AI doesn't have the capability of providing the human emotion into the article, right? So the AI wasn't there at the sporting event. It wasn't in person. It didn't experience the game-winning kick or the touchdown drive or the underdog beating the highly ranked team, right? It didn't experience all of that, and it doesn't feel the emotion that the human in person felt while they were there, right? And they can't put that down in words on paper or on computer. So I just think that for journalists moving forward, if they want to be different, they should not conform to AI just to get quick and easy, summaries and type ups of sporting events, but they should continue to, put their heartfelt and emotion words down on the paper that can connect with people. Because I don't think AI has that connectivity with other readers.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Like, do you guys think that we'll see kind of like reporters turn into like AI bots, or for like interviews, let's say, all the questions coming from a bot, like with input from a like database? Sorry, it's kind of hard to figure out my wording there. If I saw a robot reporting, I'd probably quit. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I think that would upset a ton of people.
I can't even get over like seeing those Grubhub robots when I'm like at a Waffle House. So I think that for me, I would be like taken aback, just because I feel like we do bring something to the table, being humans with like experiences and like senses that, we can put what's what the impact of these emotional events are like into our stories. Um, where I feel like AI just can't quite replicate that. But I also like do feel like it's developed to quite a lot. Like ChatGPT especially, I feel like is sometimes knows me a little too well. So, I don't really know where that could go, I guess.
One thing I say is I feel like kind of like you said, like imagine like a robot or somebody like literally just using like AI stuff. I feel like this is gonna like negatively affect it because imagine like somebody going to interview like, quarterback, like Tom Brady, like if Tom Brady was still playing or something, like after a game and it's like a robot like interviewing him or something, like how do you think like he would feel? Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like that would like I don't feel like you were able to like respect the robot, like asking you questions and stuff because they don't truly know like I guess like the emotion and like the mentality and stuff that goes with it. So I just feel like it's kind of like a slap in the face if they go in that direction. I feel like you kind of got to really have somebody that's kind of be able to relate to you and actually know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I just kind of want to like put a nice bow on everything we've kind of touched on with Riley and our roundtable here. But my topic was kind of like getting into the industry, like what's important. I feel like Riley did a great job talking about just being prepared, doing your homework, and just showing up whenever you can, every situation, every opportunity you get, just to absorb it and to just do as much as you can, especially in these years. Obviously with an emphasis on writing is that premier skill. But yeah, I just felt like it's something to look at as young professionals that possibly will go into this.
I feel like
So
she
yeah.
worded it really well too. I think she was just like, I just had to go for it or I just had to jump into it. And I think that's honestly probably could be turned into like advice, especially in like the college world. Is like you have so many opportunities right now. So you just got to kind of take it upon yourself to take the opportunities.
I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of
absolutely.
people are kind of intimidated or just like scared to take that jump and feel like they may not get a response. But at the end of the day, it's the person who's always following up and who really wants it that will get these opportunities that can push them towards their future.
Many people as you can be and say yes to everything. No matter what it is, this sports journalism topic is or career is very broad. So just say yes to many different things because even if you don't like it, you'll at least learn something and you'll be a multi-skilled sports journalist in the future. So meet as many people in the industry and say yes to as many opportunities as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank everybody for joining us on our pod today. You got to see multiple locations unlocked, so that was pretty great. Um, thank you especially to Riley, our guest. She was super insightful and awesome. And we'll see you all next time on the next pod. So yeah, everyone have a splendid evening. See you.
Bye.
See you guys.